welcome to podcast of iPen Magazine. I'm Joanne Cox.
And I'm Lynette Buchanan. And I'd like to thank you all for joining us and listening in to what we have to say. So today, what do you think?
Well, I'd like to get started on a topic of coping. How do we cope in different ways? We've got internal and external. I'd like to start with some things about external. What are some of the things we do to cope with different situations? And we've all got different mechanisms. Some are just self-soothing. When we talk about self-soothing, what I think about is just being able to have a stressful day at work and you're simply wanting to use the stress ball. That's simple.
Exercising then.
Yes.
Okay.
Then we can go with hearing and meditation.
Oh, okay.
Then we can move it with singing. I like looking at beautiful things. Nice pictures, a calm, beautiful setting, the sunrise. All of those things go up under self-soothing.
Oh, okay.
People like candles, that smell,
The scent.
and just to sit every morning with that coffee or tea.
That meditation early in the morning. I do meditation in the morning as my opener for my morning. I get up, I don't move. I literally just sit up and don't move for at least a good 5 to 10 minutes. And I meditate. Sometimes I meditate with thoughts of what's going on, reflections of what I've done, and then of course morning prayer.
Okay.
So I go into that ritual every morning. Before my feet even touch the floor, I have to have that little moment of pause to say thank you, as well as starting my day. You know, it's just a moment of getting it together. I don't like the jump up. I don't even use an alarm clock. I can't wake up in that startled mode.
Yes.
You know, like, oh, all of a sudden, I just can't do that.
After a while, our body has that internal clock.
Exactly. And I just can't, and I'm not a morning person. So, and I say that, and all the time I say you shouldn't say that, but it's the truth. I don't function well with minute things early in the morning. So external, I can understand that. The comfort of just being calm in the morning before anything else happens is a necessity for me.
Yes, and I spoke to someone just this week about making those deposits before you actually need them.
Yes.
And because you have that great routine, and so do I in the morning, then you're already one step ahead so that when something comes crashing in,
you can work with it.
You can work with it.
Yes, you could deal with it because you've put
done
yourself
the morning.
And you're in the moment of calm.
Yes.
You're already in the moment of calm. And I think, like you said, that external thing is things that come to us that we don't know anything about. We don't have a control over. We don't understand that when we get in that car to go to work, the traffic might be there and you're wondering, well, where is all of this traffic coming from? Well, if you've had that morning meditation and you've had that calm in the morning, you can sit there for a couple of minutes and not worry about being frustrated with the traffic because you have no control over it. And that's the idea of some of the coping things is you deal with what you can deal with, because other than that, you can't control everything.
No, but just some simple things that I like to talk about.
Yes.
And when you get in a traffic jam and you get all stressed out, you can do some self-talk to yourself.
Exactly.
This
Turn the
will not
music
last.
on your radio.
This is not going to last.
Yes.
These things happen. It's
Exactly.
another part of life.
Yes.
Or you're getting ready to do that one speech. You've rehearsed it 1,000 times now. But what is it that's holding you back? How are you going to cope with that?
Yes.
Those are just some simple things that we're going to go through.
And not only that, what about going to that interview? You're looking to go to that interview for the raise, or you're looking for that interview to get that new job, and you're already stressed. You need something to pull you back down.
And that is when we start getting things like, okay, I've got this. Going back to the self-talk.
Yes.
I've got this, and to understand that you already have used your resources for that speech or that interview to say this is what they're looking for. And it goes back to preparation of whatever it is that we're going to do.
Self-confidence.
Self-confidence.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Got to have some of that. Because if you don't have self-confidence, a lot of times you'll get thrown off. If you've already doubted yourself and you've already thought about the stress shows up on your face. People can see that you're stressing. People can see that you're a little nervous and you're a little jittery. Go in there with self-confidence. Take the time. If it takes extra time, that's the other thing. Stop getting ready at the last minute.
That's it. That will come on you so fast because first of all, you're in the traffic jam because you're upset about it because you left 15 minutes late.
Exactly.
You're stressed about the interview for the job. Why? Because you weren't prepared for it.
Exactly.
Are you stressed about this speech because you didn't get your notes together and now you're thinking, what am I going to say, or what if I forget the lines that I want to get across?
And I remember when I was working, coming in, and all of a sudden the schedule has changed. I developed a sense of there's nothing more consistent in this job but change. Because every time you turn around, there's a new memo, there's a new this, there's a new that, and why get stressed about the change if you already know they're going to change it? Eventually it's going to change. So we're going to work with this today.
So you're going to be open.
Because I know that tomorrow there may very well be a change. So be open to the change. Be open to, this is not going to be forever. This is just going to work right now. And as long as it works and you develop a way to deal with what works, you can also develop a way to deal with when it changes.
I totally agree. And on the last one, before we get into internal, what about those holidays where you have these family gatherings? People find that so stressful, and how do they cope with it?
And how are you stressing if you're with your family?
That goes back to having something built up in your head about what happened last Thanksgiving, last Christmas, what happened on my last birthday when I invited all the people over. So you wash that away and you come up with some good coping mechanisms. You know, Aunt Sally is the same person that she was last year. So you hear it and you release it and you let it go.
And you let it go. That's right. That's right.
And now if Jonathan doesn't like the way you wear your clothes, that's your body, that's you. Why
no need to even respond.
Exactly. Those are some of the silly, simple little things that we go through.
How about letting people know ahead of time? Here's what's left over, and I've separated enough for these dishes. Don't you hate it when somebody, they leaving out with 4 or 5 plates and somebody else didn't even get one? So that's stressful because now they think that you allowed this to go on. So yes, we have to be prepared for those things, and we should know it because they're family.
I have to add this one in. And then you've lied about what a good cook you are, and this time you couldn't go to Boston Public or whatever to pick up the ham and the turkey, and you know you've never cooked a ham or turkey before. You bring that on yourself.
Yes. And I think a lot of that is that we bring it, and like you said, it becomes internalized. And that's where the problem comes. When we internalize these things, it becomes anxiety. It becomes stress. It raises the blood pressure. It causes us not to be able to sleep. We don't get the things that we need physically because mentally we've already set the tone for bad health. So when we internalize these things, you don't have to talk to Johnny about him making comments in front of everybody when the company is there. You might have to talk to your boss about making changes at the last minute and expecting you to get it done in the next 15 to 20 minutes. You might have to step up to keep yourself healthy about some of these things because stress and aggravation can cause mental anguish. And I know that personally because I get migraines. And I had migraines from the time I was 9 years old all the way up. And my doctor finally said to me, you know, you have to release some of this. Stop holding in some of these things that you need to say. Sometimes it's not the excitement of going somewhere, or it's not the fear of being around certain people. Sometimes it's what you hold in and what you don't say. So if somebody want to make the ham this year, because I'm not making a ham because you couldn't get wherever you were going to go. I'm not making it this year. Let someone else make it. Let someone else step up and take the responsibilities. Dealing with your teenagers and dealing with them, you're worried about them coming home. I can remember locking my son out. Locked the door. Told him to be in by a certain time. You're not here, lock the door. He stood there banging and yelling, and I stood on the other side of that door telling him, I told you what time you were supposed to be here. But it took away the stress. Of course I was glad he was on the other side of that door. But the thing about it is the stress that I had, he didn't do that again. Because I had to let him know. Sometimes that's all it is letting people know how to treat you. Letting people know what to expect from you.
The borders.
making sure that you lay them out clearly and stop eternalizing our fear, our doubt. Some of those things we need to do in order to cope. Because if we don't do them, we're going to wind up sick.
Yes.
How much money do we spend on high blood pressure medicine? How much money do we spend on going back and forth to the doctors or the psychiatrists or anyone? But you're definitely going to have to go somewhere if you don't balance these things.
And I'm glad you said balance, because you're talking about people that are silencing their voice.
Exactly.
And being able to speak up, that will relieve the stress. But on the other hand now, we've got some people that have no censors.
Right.
They don't have a problem speaking.
Exactly.
And they're saying all the wrong things. And what is it that I would consider the wrong things? Is something that wasn't necessary to
be
express.
said. Or not necessary to be said at that moment.
At that moment.
Know when to speak. Know when to say. And know how.
Know how
to bring it up to a person. If I'm already hurting, it doesn't make sense for me to bring something to you that I know is going to hurt you. We all say it. Misery loves company. But do we have to be the carrier of that misery?
No.
Because later on, it still comes back. Oh, I shouldn't have said it to her that way. I didn't mean it that way. Now, until you get a chance to apologize, you're carrying that.
Yes.
So we have to be careful of how we say it. We have to be careful of when we say it. We have to be mindful of the situations that we're in. That boss doesn't want to hear at the conference table what you think about not being able to get that project done. You might want to wait until the other people at that table leave. Can I talk to you a minute and explain the process that you have to go through and how much longer it may take to get that job done? You don't have to say it in front of everybody sitting at the table. That's not the time.
Yes.
It's not the time to say something to your husband about something that's going on personally in front of your children.
That's true.
You know, so we have to make sure that we understand when, how, and to who. Don't take it to another person and talk behind the person's back either. That doesn't relieve the stress either. That only causes more stress and more problems. So we do need to bring it in when you want to cope. Just because you want to cope doesn't mean that I want to hear all of your problems.
And all of these things fall under internal coping mechanisms. So what we want you to understand is when these things are not enough on how to solve and cope with things, make sure you're seeing your friends, your family, your therapist, your psychologist, 911. These are the places you need to go to make sure this happens.
Yes, yes. And one thing I want to talk to you about is this wording that I looked up for coping. One of life's best coping mechanisms is to know the difference between an inconvenience or a problem. We don't want to wait too late to go to that psychiatrist. We don't want to wait too late to go to the doctor to find out about our blood pressure and our stress level and what's causing us to have these problems. Light that candle, ease into things. Believe that you are able to get rid of these problems so that you can cope, but do it the right way. And that's what we want you to know.
All right then. Thank you for attending this session of iPen Magazine. And I know that she has this great and wonderful quote to end this with. Let's talk about it on our next session.
Yes, thank you for joining. Have a good one.